I'm going to upload 3 poems, which they are what I call protest poems. They rail against the constant erosion and threats to our countryside in this restricted tiny space of ours in the UK. There was a report on television last night, 2nd of December 2024, of local authorities protesting that the national government plans for 1.5 million new homes is totally unrealistic. Well, that's a surprise, given that in the last year alone 906,000 visas were granted for people to become permanent residents of the UK. This followed a year, by the way, where it was promised that immigration would be brought under control. There was not a single mention in the report, commissioned I think by the BBC, that an intake of nearly 1 million people in a single year might have some adverse impact or be linked to downgrading of our environment. The threat to our countryside, the urbanisation of a landscape that inspired the art of Hardy, Wordsworth, Browning, Brooke, Gray, Shakespeare, Constable, Turner and a host of others, plus the collapse of our infrastructure where hospital waiting times are getting worse, NH funding is inadequate, our roads are already crumbling because they carry volumes of traffic not dreamt of when they were built, and most tragically, from my point of view anyway, our rivers, which have become a backstop to a sewage and water supply industry that has consistently picked up pockets, not to reinvest, but to pay vast dividends to shareholders, many of them foreign. Our rivers and streams have become carriers once again of diseases like cholera, polio, cryptosporidium, typhoid and Weil's disease. The Victorian engineers got on top of when our population was around 30 million or so, a lot less than it is now anyway. The quality of our air is now a huge contributory cause behind a host of pulmonary diseases like asthma, COPD, emphysema and bronchitis. Governments earnestly tackle things like smoking, yet seem to be passively indifferent that even infants now are being more and more affected by these ailments, especially the massively increased incidence of dangerous asthma. We are already the most densely populated per hectare major country of Europe. The UK, particularly the Shire counties of lowland England, are being consumed piecemeal. We are well on our way to becoming an overcrowded, litter-strewn, polluted land that prior to the pervading cult of political correctness would have seen us labelled as a third world country. Immigrants and their families bear no responsibility or blame for this whatsoever. They are merely pawns in the game. Worryingly, they could in fact also suffer as innocent victims of this continuing calamity, as the extreme right feel justified in making more and more bellicose threats. Migration away from the UK is also increasing as a frustrated indigenous population feel forced to leave their degraded homeland. However, the idea that we are like some 19th century USA asking the world to send us your poor and your dispossessed with an empty landmass to fill is a complete nonsense. It is governments nonetheless, not innocent immigrants, that are to blame for issuing visas like confetti. They do so almost certainly at the behest of their corporate puppet masters, who feel the only way to compete with the people-rich lands and developing economies of Asia and Central and Southern America is to have multi-applicants available for every single job vacancy. This is a well-established, centuries-old device for suppressing wages and workers' rights. Labour seem to have left behind any interest in such things, given the kind of fixed contract jobs they allow to exist where good people, even have to apply periodically to keep their own jobs. There is an emerging picture that governments of any hue seem to have decided to make the UK, and particularly lowland England, a densely populated concrete European offshore island, an economic dynamo, if you like Hong Kong. This once green and pleasant land, this sceptred isle of Shakespeare, is being deliberately and consciously degraded by UK governments who are blinded by the capitalist notion that only by wholly unsustainable economic growth can a worthwhile nation exist. GNP is not really a reliable indicator of the well-being or health of a nation, or the vast majority of its inhabitants. In that wholly tainted economic philosophy lay the doom of our planet, let alone England. Most worryingly, our periodic elections seem to have become merely to represent democracy as being some kind of illusory holograph that does nothing to make politicians have to listen to those that elected them. Thank you.